Oh my gosh. How many people did not know what FOMO meant? In our other Unplugged?
Oh, I was like, wait, wasn't that the video before the last video?
Yeah, I know, but we're still getting comments.
We're still getting comments
People
about
asking, what is FOMO? I thought this was common vernacular.
There's a lot of things that I still don't understand. So FOMO, for those of you curious, stands for fear of missing out. FOMO. We provide a service.
Yes, we do. Just call us your Urban Dictionary.
Please don't call us that.
Well, guys, welcome to Unplugged 26. I wish I would have grabbed your name, but somebody said that it was very important to them to know what episode number we were on.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to try to remember to keep including it at the top.
Okay.
Before we get into today's Unplugged, I have to first pour a little one out for my Longhorns who got beat.
Oh, they did.
By Georgia. What the actual F? Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. I mean,
that was pretty bad.
I feel like I'm handling it pretty well, though, considering, but I guess that's just the years of practice I've had as a Longhorn fan of being let down.
You didn't handle it well Saturday night.
I didn't?
No, you were, I just kept my distance. I just kept my distance. You weren't in the talking mood.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I've been 3 years in with Ewers.
Yeah.
Step into the pocket, guy.
Do your reads.
Yeah.
Get through your progressions.
Yeah. Look downfield. There's somebody wide the heck open.
Yep.
And you're just like, no, I'm going to throw it off to the left 5 yards and do nothing. Third down, best down.
Yeah.
Oh, what were we, 2 of 14 then?
Yeah.
Completion, getting oh my God, we didn't even have a first down until in the second half.
We had 8 yards of total offense in the first half. 8.
No, it was 15.
Nope.
No, it was.
Oh, it was 8 until Manning came in and...
No, it was 15.
Okay.
I know this.
All right.
Don't try to step in. I know this. It was 15 yards, and then Manning came in, more than doubled that.
And it's like second play.
And then, then didn't come back in.
Yeah.
Go figure. Anyway.
Yeah. Great coaching.
Sound off in the comments if you watched that game. Let me know what your thoughts were. Because I want to know. I need somebody.
Be kind.
I need people to commiserate with. Come on. All right. Hopefully we'll do better next week. I think we're playing Vandy. Okay. I'm just going to get the comparisons out of the way first.
Okay.
Those of you who are still with us,
yeah.
Thank you. Believe it or not, it looks like you only missed one this time.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Don't get too comfortable in that, though, because
never.
We know next time.
Oh, yeah. Next video, for sure, about a dozen I missed.
Corey W. says, oh, heck yes. I was hoping we would get a review of this one.
Okay.
Is Marantz finally letting that silver color creep down the price range in North America? It frustrates me that the cinema/stereo 70s don't come in silver in North America because, quote, the market doesn't want silver, end quote.
Yeah.
I call on that, Corey. The current generation of Marantz is gorgeous. The current generation in silver is gorgeouser. I'm curious how this stacks up to something like the RN1000A or the C3050, which are two price comparables I'm looking at. For those listening, watching, whatever you're doing, the RN1000A is the Yamaha.
Okay.
The other one, I had to look up.
Okay, yeah, I was hoping you'd look it up
because it's not a Yamaha.
Yeah.
It's not a Yamaha. It's an NAD product.
What's the designation again?
NAD C3050. Get this.
Yeah.
I looked it up.
Okay.
70 style amp. It has VU meters.
Oh,
it has 100 watts into 8 or 4 ohms, though it said something about being 4 ohm stable.
Yeah.
It is Class D hybrid. They call it some hybrid.
Hybrid drive.
whatever.
Yeah.
Probably made up. Blue OS. It has a DAC. Holy crap. It has HDMI.
Yeah.
And it looks like you can A/B speakers with it.
Yep.
$1,400.
I think it's come down in price a little. Yeah. I'll start with the NAD. Number one, if anyone from NAD is listening, it's starting to become clear why we don't get your products for review after that shellacking. I have no idea how it would compare to the 60N because, as I just pointed out, we haven't had an NAD on this channel in over a year.
Oh, it's been I think it's been longer.
NAD. I don't think we've had an NAD product since we moved. As for the Yamaha, great comparison.
And it's the 1000A, just for the record.
Yeah. No,
the lower model.
Yeah, and they're priced relatively the same. The 1000A I think is $16.99 as opposed to $14.99 with the Marantz. I would take the Yamaha all day, just because I didn't know the Yamaha to have any sort of power struggles at higher volumes the way that the 60N kind of did with lower impedance speakers. I didn't run into that with the Yamaha. The Yamaha has room correction in the form of YPOW, which may or may not be something you guys need in your particular environment. It's a great value add. If you want to place a value on YPOW in this instance, you could say it's worth the extra $200 over the Marantz. The 1000A has dual 5-way binding posts, so it can run an A and B set of speakers. So you kind of can do dual zone, or if you have two pairs of speakers that you really like, you can power them both one at a time, switch between the two. Or in the case of some speakers, provided they're not low impedance speakers, you could actually run them at the same time. But yeah, I would take the Yamaha over the Marantz in this particular head-to-head. The Yamaha is going to be a little bit more neutral sounding. It's going to have that, it's got a slightly better DAC in it too. And phono preamp is also going to be a little less warm than what I experienced with the Marantz. So if those things sound like something you're after, the Yamaha is going to be the better choice.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, I've been doing a lot of thinking since our last video about the Marantz.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, God, are we spoiled? Like, have we just gotten spoiled? Are we spoiled brats? I mean, is it really worth complaining about that they offer so many products? Yeah. I mean, it's like, what is it? Are we confused? We're spoiled? We're just tired? I don't know. But that was something that came up with me.
Okay.
Because, I'm like, who cares? Who cares? So they offer a million different products that look the same.
Yeah.
Have a lot of crossover.
Sure.
Price point for everybody. They sound good.
Yeah.
They work.
Yeah.
And Mr. Moyer, Mr. Moyer agrees with me. He says, as long as they all work and sound good, I wouldn't care if Marantz had 100 2-channel amps. But he does say, I do wish they did not look the same.
Well, the reason they can have 100 2-channel amps or the 6 or 7 they're up to now is because they look the same. Whether you spend $1,500, I was about to say whether you spend $1,000, but I realized even the 70S is $1,200. So whether you spend $1,200 or you spend $3,000, I think is their top of the line model before you get to like the $15,000 tier, you're going to see a sharing of parts, features, usability, and all of that stuff. And that all helps to bring costs down, obviously. The tooling costs of a chassis at any level, let alone the one that Marantz has chosen to be their design language for the last 2 years, is not cheap. So they're definitely either still paying for or getting their money's worth from that radical design change that they made from the previous generation. Think 8015 receivers, where they had like the kind of curved cheeks, whereas now it's this whole new porthole type design. Like, that's all new. So that wasn't cheap to do. That was a big decision on Marantz's part to go in that direction, stylistically and just from an industrial design standpoint and manufacturing. So that's what allows them to have so many SKUs. Where I think you run into problems, though, is, again, are we spoiled? Yeah, maybe, maybe. But it's also just incredibly overwhelming because it does feel like every brand is starting to do this. It used to kind of be like an NAD thing, where it's just like every $100 we got you, we got a new set of numbers for you. But now Marantz is doing it. Rotel to a certain degree is doing it. Yamaha, thankfully, is not yet. I still think they're at 5 SKUs, but they're very, very easily defined. Cambridge, we're gonna maybe have to touch upon this again in our upcoming Cambridge review. Cambridge didn't used to do this, but now I'm thinking they're starting to, which we'll get into. But yeah, I mean, I think what gets confusing is when you go to buy something, there's a very real chance that some of these products are sold at certain outlets and other products are sold at different ones. And so you may be watching a video or reading an article about one of these SKUs, go to your local electronics store or Best Buy or whatever, go to buy it if you want to buy it in person, and realize that they only carry SKUs 1, 2, and 4. And then this other dealer carries 3, 5, 6, and 7. You wanted 5. There's nothing in your area. So now you're forced to choose. Do you go down or do you know what I mean? And it can get really confusing, but it's also a great way for retailers not to have to price match and not to have to be as competitive with other things because, it's technically a different product. And I think that's where I know my frustration lands, because all the time you guys write in and ask like, well, my guy doesn't carry this, but he has this. Am I getting less for that? Or is it going to be better? Is it worth the extra? And it's like, oh man, I can't keep up with all of this stuff sometimes. And that's where, for me, it gets really frustrating.
Crispin Crunch 2453 says 4 minutes into the video and I was already asking, why wouldn't you just get the M1 or Stereo 70S instead? Why do many brands seem intent on creating convoluted SKU confusion, offering subjectively worse or lesser products at a higher price instead of the traditional good, better, best tier? Why risk customers' disappointment, either not getting the best value or FOMO? Again, remember guys, FOMO is fear of missing out. I'm a spec nerd, and it took me 20 to 30 minutes doing comparisons to sort out Marantz's line, compounded by the cinema versus stereo variants.
Mm-hmm. Do you want the honest answer why I think they do it?
No, I want you to lie.
Audiophiles. I really, this goes back to maybe 2 unplugs ago where I said brands are kind of at a crossroads where they're going to have to start to decide who they're going to make products for. Are they going to make products for the dyed-in-the-wool audiophiles? Or are they going to make products for people that are really just wanting to listen and have a really great experience? And I think, as this viewer pointed out, that they go up and remove things, add a little bit more of this, but take something else away. Why wouldn't someone get the Stereo 70S that has all of these things or just go with an AVR? Is audiophiles. Because for decades, adding something to anything makes it worse, drags the fidelity down, separates everything. That's why. Because I'm sure at some level, specific dealers, probably more globally than here in the United States, are giving Marantz feedback saying that, I have clientele, I have customers that just want XYZ. And they'll build it. They build it. And I don't want to say the vast majority because I don't know what the numbers are globally. But here in the United States, a lot of you, especially people that watch this channel, are like, why would I pay $3,000 for the Marantz whatever that took away all of the stuff they give you for $1,200? And my answer is, I don't know why you would over someone else, but I can tell you that there are plenty of people that I am confident have talked to a dealer, talked to a rep, and it's gotten back to Marantz, or just Marantz in general still wants to maintain that heritage, that pedigree that they were known for or are known for decades past, where it's like, no, we still make the strict 2-channel, whatever. I mean, just look at their new Model 10 at 15 grand. That has nothing. I mean, it's probably amazing. I don't know. We haven't listened to it. I don't have it here in-house. It has been requested. But let's face it, it has nothing. It is analog inputs and a volume dial. So,
Well, speaking of the 10,
Mm-hmm.
The Park Bopper
Mm-hmm.
says Marantz is getting NAD-itis. The 60N is not needed. They needed an update to the Model 30 with more power, with a more powerful N core, not to cannibalize the Amp 10, but something like 150 watts into 8, 300 into 4 with the theater DAC chops and functionality of the M1. Make it nicer than the M1 with a big
Toroidal.
toroidal. Yep, you were right. Audiophiles are the problem. And a decent screen. I would pay $3,000 for that.
Yeah, I would agree. There's quite a delta between Marantz's stereo integrated amps and going up to the Model 10. I think an audiophile hybrid Model M1 would be welcomed. And I think that if you were to build it, you could do direct competition with, what was that NAD amp that we had years ago? The M33, the Master Series 33, it was like $5 grand.
Yeah.
That was borderline perfect. I mean, it didn't resonate with me. Like, it was so precise and so analytical that I personally kind of found it kind of bland and boring. But take that subjective feeling away, there was nothing wrong with it. It literally did everything I've ever wanted in a stereo 2-channel product. Marantz has all of the parts in their arsenal to build a straight up competitor to that. And so far, no one has. Really. I mean, honestly, no one has. And that is fascinating to me, because at $5,500, yes, that's a lot of money. It is. But that was a lot of product for $5,500. That thing had direct, had HDMI, had streaming built in, a really nice screen. I mean, it was bordering on perfect. I just didn't like the sound of it. Marantz could do the same thing, probably bring it in at like $4,500, $39.99. Done. And if the Model M1 is any indication at $1,000, like I said, they have all the parts and the know-how to do this. And it wouldn't compete or cannibalize the $15,000 Model 10 either, because, like I just got done saying, there's going to be an audience. There is a customer for that. I want nothing in it, but just volume control and input selection. But then there's other people like me that it's like, I don't want any more boxes, so put everything in the kitchen sink in it, but make it good.
Well, I'm with Jerry Mancini here. He's confused about the naming of the Model M1. And I agree. I bet you the corporate brand meeting, they were like, how can we make this shit even more unnecessarily confusing? I know. Let's call it the Model M1, not the Model 1.
Yeah.
Make it make sense. Like, why?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
It was a rhetorical question, but
Yeah, I don't understand half of the names that half of the companies in the world put to their products.
to be honest, I thought it was called the Model 1 for the longest time.
Yeah.
Not the Model M1.
Yeah.
So I'm with you, Jerry. I'm totally with you. Well, Mikey Mike
Nice.
says, thanks, team, for another great review and one more item to add to an ever-growing list. The pursuit of perfection is the topic he wants to raise.
Okay.
Mike says, I think I have a problem.
Well, that's the first step, Mike.
Admitting when you have a problem.
Yeah.
I keep messing around with my system, twisting knobs, adjusting PEQ levels, moving things, because when I got something to sound great with one music genre, it sounded lacking or too much with another genre. How do I enjoy the music rather than listening for flaws? Can the audiophile summit be achieved? Or are we just Sisyphus rolling a stone? Hopefully I pronounced that name right. I meant to look it up before, and I just didn't. That's the truth.
I don't do my homework. Let's see. Can audiophile...
Can the summit be
Can
achieved?
the summit be achieved? It just depends on what the summit is for you. And I mean that. The summit can be wildly different for everybody. Can it be achieved? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because on more than one occasion, I believe that for me anyway, I've obtained it. It really comes down to what is the summit. Like for me, the summit of a product is one that I just want to keep using. It's one that I want to keep listening to, and it fuses with my everyday life in such a way that it's just second nature at that point. To the point where I legitimately stop thinking about it. Perfect example, and this isn't quite germane to the 60N, but let's just talk about some of the products that have become an extension of my daily routine. Apple TV 4K with their Apple remote. It controls everything that I connect for the purposes of even a review. It will control everything. Like I will play with the manufacturer's remote. I will test a TV's built-in apps or whatever, but for my own enjoyment, once I've not exhausted, but once I feel confident enough that I have experienced the brand's user experience, I ditch the remotes and I ditch their built-in streaming and I just do the Apple TV 4K for 90% of what I'm doing because it's just an extension of me at this point. And I don't think about it. And it makes me listen more, it makes me watch more. I get more enjoyment out of it as a result. Look at my Bang & Olufsen BioSound Balance. Is it a perfect speaker? No. Does it do stereo by itself, like create stereo imaging with a phantom center by itself? No. But I have it programmed so that while I'm making coffee, I literally just reach over and touch it and it starts playing my favorite music. And I don't even think about it anymore. I almost don't even see the product in my own home. And I can say the same thing about the A9. And I'm getting that way with the Titans, where it's like, yes, they are imposing. Yes, they are noticeable in my room. But I'm so comfortable with them now, and I miss them when they're not plugged in. Are they perfect? No. Could I go crazy tweaking them? Absolutely, I could. But I don't. I have a set of settings for them that is good for me. And once I kind of hit that spot, the second I can stop thinking about something, that's when the summit has been achieved. But that's me. Like, I am always looking for the product that gets out of its own way. I am always looking for the product that melds with my lifestyle. Now, some people are the opposite of me. And I'm not saying that you are, but you may fall somewhere in between, where it is the pursuit of the ability to tune, to tweak, to adjust, to make something their own. In which case, if you're that type of person, I don't know what the summit is. Because at some point in my journey, I felt like I was going to be that person, or I wanted to be that person, and I definitely chased avenues that went pretty tweaky, only to realize that I was met more and more with frustration than results. I learned some stuff, I learned a lot, but ultimately the biggest takeaway that I learned was that this wasn't for me, and that I was throwing a lot of money just completely down the drain because there wasn't anything too outlandish that I wasn't willing to try, like cable risers, different types of room treatments. I mean, at one point I had like wooden dowels. I mean it, like wooden dowels. And then someone came along and like, what you really need to do is build wooden dowels and put like foam pool noodles over them. I did that.
What?
Oh yeah. No, I'm not ashamed to admit it. I had like inner tubes underneath my CD players. I had, like I would get.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact that you use pool noodles.
Yeah, there was so Absolute Sound in the late 90s, early 2000s were really talking up this new room acoustics company that came out with a wooden fork. It was like a 6-foot tall, looked like Trident spear, but it was like it went up and then it came into a 3-pronged fork thing. And you put those like kind of next to the outside edges of your speakers, and it just transformed the soundstage.
My God.
Yeah, and these forks, these forks cost like $2 or $3 grand. You know, they were expensive, and so AVS forum, someone was like, you can build one of these and put the plans together. So I built them. I built like 6 different pairs of them, and then someone came along and it's like, well, everyone knows the wood's not going to do jack squat, but if you put absorptive material around the wood, now that might be something. And then someone's like, would pool noodles work? And then here comes 100 people going, they would work. And so I'm like going down to the Walmart and I'm getting pool noodles, and I did a bunch of stuff like that.
And that's why you got divorced.
Yeah, there it is. But yeah, I think at that point when people are into that stuff, the pursuit is more about the tweak and not the results. It's just the act of making an adjustment that is more fun. Because a lot of times you'll find that, these people listen to the same track over and over and over and over and over again. I mean, I do that, but it's kind of because this is my job and I have to review something and I have to have constants. But they do it to try and suss out the next thing in their tweak and stuff like that. So yeah, it really comes down to what is your summit. So if your summit is more on the line of enjoyment and just, I want to just use the product and kind of forget that I even bought it because it's just working with me in my everyday life, totally achievable. You just may have to take that other side of your personality out back and tell it to go look at the flowers. So
I can do that for you easily.
Yeah, I
My
know.
goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, just try to find I don't know. You're guilty of this on some degree because when we watch movies or TV shows or whatever, especially something that has, a more detective approach to the show, or there's maybe a twist that's possibly going to happen.
Yeah.
This guy over here, I mean, we could be 3 minutes into something and he's like, I think I know what happens. And I'm like, shut up.
That's not quite the same, but I get your point.
It's just,
I get your point.
You're ruining it for yourself and for me.
But I'm not.
But
that's
you are.
No, that's
you
the
are.
difference. That's the difference is, it's not quite the same analogy. Or it's not an apples to apples comparison. I get it. But that's the thing is, part of the fun of storytelling for me is seeing how other people do it. And it's fun for me, and it doesn't ruin anything for me that in real time, if I think I know where something's going, that I'm taking the film in as entertainment, but also in my mind, rewriting or re-editing it in real time so that I'm like, oh, these are the choices I would make.
Right, but what I think you're not admitting to is how judgmental you are when watching shows and movies because they've done it wrong, and you don't really have the ability to just sit back and enjoy yourself because you are. I mean, I didn't know you were actually re-editing the damn thing in your brain while you were watching.
Yeah.
That makes it even worse. But I do think there is a correlation between what you're doing when we're trying to sit down and just watch the next episode of Only Murders in the Building.
Well, okay, but those types of shows dare you to try and stay a step ahead of the story.
I know. That was just one example.
Like, for example, Grotesquerie.
Oh, boy.
That was just awful. That was awful. And I had a sinking suspicion about 2 episodes in that this was gonna flush itself hard. And look, I didn't always used to be this way. I didn't.
You weren't always this neurotic.
I wasn't always like this, but I worked on Lost. I worked on that show. And
so you have PTSD.
Yes. Yes. I worked on that. And even working on it, I was like, I don't think anyone knows what they're doing. I don't think there's a plan for this. And there wasn't. And as someone who was in the marketing department for the tail end of that show, like trying to like, how do you tell people? Like, what do you do? You know? But anyway, we're off topic.
I just think that you have a hard time just enjoying yourself. Wow. Yeah. Oh, I know. That little head cock was cute. I just think, going back to Grotesquerie, the FX show, I think it is, I also was very unhappy with that last episode.
Most recent one, yeah.
Right, but 2 episodes before, I'm not like pre-gaming my my anger. Like I think you can do it sometimes. Anyway, I just feel like there is somewhat of a correlation between how you should certainly be able to identify with people out there who have an obsession with where they can't look past.
I totally
the inconveniences or the things that maybe could be better here, maybe are you know what I'm saying? Like
no, I totally because I was that guy.
can just sit back and be like, I'm just excited to be here, and I am waiting to see what happens as it unfolds.
And is that how easygoing you are?
Yeah, it is. And so, Mike. I really think you should try to adopt my personality a little bit more. Just be chill.
Yeah, you got your things too.
Shut up. Yeah. Be chill.
Heaven forbid you get the color of something wrong.
Anyway, ignore him right now. Just relax and, don't look too much into things.
I will remember this conversation. This conversation is gonna come in mad handy.
All right.
Down the road.
Here we go.
And we're gonna have a record. We're gonna have a record of it.
See what I'm saying? He's already pre-gaming his next opportunity to be right. Anyway.
See what you did, Mike?
We're having fun here, guys. Yeah. Okay. Andy Pine says, I'm looking to get a Model 40N.
Okay.
As my taste is very warm and musical leaning.
Okay.
Are there any 40N owners here that can attest to it sounding luscious and musical? Or should I look to something else? Okay. I know you've gotten taken to the woodshed a few times in the past, especially with the flowery language. But I need to know so that I can have context here. What is luscious and musical? What makes an amp luscious or musical?
I have no freaking clue, to be honest.
Come on.
No, I'm serious. I have no clue. I know what warm means. Like I don't have a problem using a term like warm or fuller or rounder sound because there are certain traits to a sound that I guess over the years, a lot of people have sort of come together and said, all right, we'll accept that. But when you get into, no, I'm serious. When you get into things like,
so the audiophiles like got in a corner somewhere and they're like, okay,
look, if you put on a vintage, no, if you put on a vintage receiver, right? Which let's be real, a lot of audiophiles have, cut their teeth on, grew up with. You go grab one of those vintage receivers before you've done any sort of, refinish or updates or modifications to it. You find one that works from the 1970s. Let's say you pick a Rotel or something from the 1970s, and then you go grab a Rotel from yesterday, like literally off the new rack, and you put them and you play the same thing through them. You're going to find that both are going to sound markedly different. And the older piece is going to be a little bit more vague, a little bit more broad. And when I say broad, what I mean is you're probably going to end up with a little bit more of a wall of sound. And the speakers themselves, it's all going to kind of come at you in one direction. It may not have a lot of layers, a lot of depth and stuff like that. And as a result, images of, you put a singer-songwriter center stage. You might have great center focus with that 70s receiver, but they may be kind of just everywhere, floating. Whereas the new Rotel or Amici or something like that, like you're like, oh no, he or she is like right there. And they have like the right definition of height. Now, part of this is also changes in recording qualities and mixing techniques and stuff like that. It's not all just down to the electronics. But I think audiophiles coming up from the 70s and 80s into the 90s, 2000s, and where we are now, they've witnessed that kind of change in molding of sound. So when they're referring to warm, round, hazy, vague, broad, it's born, I think, out of this older style of sound that used to be in a lot of products. Now we're getting more into the exacting. With the advent of digital, I mean, it's just, you can get perfect, for lack of a better word. You can get perfect. Perfect didn't exist then. It does today. But some people don't like perfect, and call it nostalgia, call it personal taste, call it whatever. You may want to go back in that other direction because it's appealing to you. Now, seductive, chocolatey, what was the phrase?
Luscious and musical.
Luscious and all that stuff. I don't know what that means. The musical part, that makes me chuckle, because there's this whole other element of audiophilia that is like, they talk about, what is it called? Pratt, I think. Pace, rhythm, and timing, I think is what Pratt stands for. I don't get that at all. I don't understand that at all. To suggest like an amplifier is literally changing the speed of a recording faster or slower is like, what are you talking about?
Well, I've said before that there are some systems we've tested that sound slower or whatever to me, but I think that has more to do with the bass.
Yeah, I mean,
being more controlled and tighter, like I like it.
Yeah, there can be a lack of control of the woofers, which can lead to the amplifier is actually just not very good. It doesn't handle fluctuating impedances very well. That can lead to mushier, tubbier, slower bass, but that doesn't mean that the music is literally changing tempo. You know what I mean? And conversely, you get an amplifier that's really exacting and really good at control. That can bring out when paired with the right speaker, can even bring out the sensation of, oh, I'm hearing little details. Well, that gets your brain to focus in on different aspects of a track that it hasn't necessarily been able to focus on in the past, especially if it's a track you've heard a million times, and then you go and make too many changes to your system. You go to a speaker that has a more tipped up upper mid-range and treble, and then you combine it with a more powerful amplifier. Suddenly, all of that little extra nuance and detail that maybe you're hearing, not for the first time, but you're hearing it more clearly. Now your brain is like ping, 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 like focusing in on that. But it's not changing the timing of the damn song. The song didn't get faster or slower. Your brain is reacting to the sound differently, and it's creating a sensation that may be like, oh, I can't keep up with it, or I'm able to keep up with it. But this whole like, yep, that amp will totally make the music flow better. What? Anyway, what was the original question?
The
40N.
What
Yeah.
is well, my question was, what is a musical amp? But Andy was looking for
Yeah.
they are looking for something that's more warm, musical leaning, sounds luscious. I personally, Andy, because my goal was to help you out here, not to go on some sort of side
Tangent.
quest. But since you like warm and stuff, I would say look at a Denon. because I think that has that more warm, laid back sound
It
than
could.
even Marantz.
It could, yeah.
Or I would look at maybe a Cambridge Audio product that's like, I don't know, like the CXA 81 or something like that.
If you're gonna look at Cambridge, just wait a couple of weeks. We've got a Cambridge review coming before go buying CXA anything at the moment.
Yeah, I'm gonna disagree with you on that, but
We'll fight on that one in a couple of weeks.
yeah, we can.
Look, the 40 end, I don't know if it's luscious, but it does have elements. It's not okay. Compared to say the Model M1, the 40N is probably going to sound kind of warm, kind of a little bit rounder, maybe even a little bit more old-fashioned. It's still really good. It has incredible articulation. It is very easy. That amp is very easy to listen to across a wide range of genres of music for long, long periods of time. Like in our 2+ years with that as a reference point, I can't recall ever turning the 40N on and being like, oh, not that song. That is to its credit and to its benefit. And because I feel that way about the 40N, I think it's going to satisfy what it is you're looking for. I think that's the sound you may be trying to achieve or that you're looking for. To say that is the 40N the only option? No, as Christy just pointed out, there's a few others. But within this current Marantz model lineup, without going insanely into esoteric money, outlay of cash, the 40N is probably going to be a better fit than the 60N.
Well, Matthew Buckingham is from the UK, and he has a question. I'm due for a treat, an upgrade from the Marantz PM7000N.
Okay.
I predominantly play CDs and movie watching through a 2.1 setup. Is the Model 60 worth it? If not, would I notice a big upgrade in soundstage depth and more clarity from the M1?
Going from the 7000 to the 60N, and now keep in mind, I don't think I've heard the 7000 outside of a store.
Yeah, we never reviewed it.
But I've heard them in a store. I don't know if that's going to be a giant upgrade. There will be a difference in tonality. There will be a difference in experience with the Model M1. The architecture, the sheer design of that amplifier and its various circuits are just different. They produce a different sensation. Soundstage width, you turn on virtualization through the Model M1, yeah, you're going to hear a difference in the soundstage. It's going to be insane how different. Now, you may not like it. I don't know, but it's going to be different. In terms of like the sensation of detail retrieval, again, it's going to be different just because of the way that that particular amp handles all signals. And I mean all of them. So if you're wanting something different than the 7000N you're used to, my gut is saying that you're going to get different with the Model M1 more than probably the 60N.
I would agree, especially because you do a lot of movie watching. The Model M1 is so awesome at creating like that virtual Atmos-like, surround sound-like, not totally getting you there, but closer.
Yeah.
The M1 is where I would point you to. But since you also, you're doing a 2.1 setup and you are watching movies, you also play CDs, why not consider an AVR?
Yeah.
Something from, if you like Marantz, something from their cinema line. Maybe.
Was it the 40? Well, the 70 is, the Cinema 70 would be an option, but stepping up to like the 40 gets you a few more of those bells and whistles. But again, if you know you're just sticking to 2.1, normally I wouldn't say this. I would say AVR, but you're all digital already. You're 2.1 only, unless you want room correction, Model M1. If you want room correction and the ability to then play with that stuff, then go with an AVR. Unless the Model 1 gets some sort of firmware update where they're like, we have basic direct, and it's like, oh boy, that product's perfect.
Okay, well, we've come to our last question.
Okay.
Bruce Molinar
Okay.
says, I own a Marantz Model 50 and 50 CDN with
Okay.
for my Polk R700s in my living room.
Mm-hmm.
Loves the combination.
Okay.
In my den, I'm also using a Marantz NL1200 with Polk R200 speakers. Small room, so that's adequate.
Yep.
My question is, with FOMO, again, fear of missing out, guys, starting to work on me, I wonder if I should upgrade to an M1 or a Model 60N. Would I hear an audible difference compared to my 3-year-old Marantz NL1200 with 75 watts?
You will hear a difference compared to the 1200. Again, just like I just got done saying, the Model M1, it's just a different design from start to finish in how it handles signals. So it's going to result in a different sound. And again, if you turn on virtualization or some of its other EQ presets, it just creates a different sensation. Now, purists will argue it's doing that using DSP, it's doing it through digital manipulation, phase manipulation. I don't care how it's doing it. A lot of customers have asked for a different sensation. The Model M1 gives you that straight up. There's no hesitation in me saying that. You will have a different experience over the 1200 for sure. For sure.
Well, we're done, guys.
Wow. All right. Well, we got off topic a little bit, but
That's fine. That's
yeah,
what
that's
makes
what this
these
is for.
episodes fun. I think that's
Yeah.
why people tune in. They tune in for our off-topic side quests.
Side quests.
Yeah, that's my new favorite term.
Side quests. You worked that one into a script recently.
Yeah, I did.
Side quest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did.
All
That
right.
was me.
That was you. That was her. That was her line.
That was my contribution.
Well, did you like the 60N?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Of all of the Marantz stereo integrateds, which one would you get?
Oh, the M1.
M1. If you couldn't get the M1, what would be your recommendation to people who want to shop Marantz? M1 doesn't count because the M1's its own thing. What would you think is the best Marantz product you've experienced in 2024?
Oh my God. In 2024?
In the last year or so.
Oh.
In the last year. And that can include AVRs.
Oh.
Model M1 off the table. It's its own thing.
M1 is off the table.
So you've got your 60N, you've got like a 40N, you've got Cinema 50, Cinema 40s, Cinema 30, which is the higher end AVR.
Yeah.
You've got the Stereo 70, you've got the Cinema 70.
God, I don't know. They all start to sound the same after a while.
Yeah.
There's just like somebody earlier in the comments or in the Unplugged who left a comment like there's just
Yeah.
there's no like
There's so much parity.
Yeah, there's so much. Yeah, there's crossover, and somehow they manage to, take away a feature here or two.
Yeah.
It doesn't really make a lot of sense. So it makes it very hard to make a decision, even for me, who's like, well, which one? I don't know. I'm just telling you, I would get the M1. Maybe the 70S.
For the Stereo 70S?
Yeah, might make a lot of sense if you're just looking for
If you need more HDMI switching.
stereo and stuff. Because doesn't that have the opportunity to add like an external amplifier as
It
well?
does have preamp outs, it has sub outs, it has multiple HDMI inputs. I think for flexibility over the Model M1, the Stereo 70 is probably the only other thing that I recommend. After that, I'm just like, if we're talking about spending $3,500 for one of their higher end stereo products, I say go Cinema 30. Just get an AVR. That's just me. So, all right. Well, anything else you
You
want to
have
add?
options, guys. That's what's important.
You have lots of options.
We're going to stop being spoiled little and we're going to just embrace all of the options
All of the options.
that we all have.
All right. You heard it. Embrace change. That's it. That's it for today. Episode
26.
26, Marantz 60N. I don't know how to ever end these. So just thank you so much for watching. We'll see you Sunday, brand new video, kind of a part 2 to this conversation as well as the 60N. So please do tune in for that because I think you're going to see the story come full circle. But until then, enjoy the rest of your Friday and we'll see you Sunday. And thanks for watching.
Bye.